In December 1944, deep in the snowy Ardennes forest, a steel behemoth that struck fear into the hearts of the Allies, Germany's 1st SS Panzer Division came to a sudden, bizarre halt. It wasn't because of anti-tank guns up ahead, nor was it an air raid. The commander, Joachim Peiper, slammed his fist in frustration on the armor of his King Tiger tank. The fuel gauge was on empty. Back in his Berlin bunker, Hitler had once scoffed at American Gs, calling them pampered soldiers on wheels who couldn't fight without their Coca-Cola and Jeeps. What he never could have imagined was that this very reliance on logistics, which he despised as a sign of weakness, would become the death knell for his own armored forces. When the most powerful tank in the world becomes a roadblock for want of a single drop of fuel, Nazi Germany's final gamble was already lost before it even began. To understand this epic failure, we first need to talk about the massive gap in logistical philosophy between these two adversaries. In late war propaganda films, the German army was always portrayed as an unstoppable torrent of steel, with tanks and armored vehicles rolling across the landscape. In reality, that was mostly staged for the home front. The truth is, even as late as 1944, the German army's main transport still heavily relied on horse-drawn carts. That's right, horses pulling artillery. It was quite literally an army powered by muscle and hay. Now let's look at the Americans Hitler ridiculed. They were the ones truly fighting a rich man's war. The U.S. Army was the first fully mechanized military in human history. Even the field kitchens had their own trucks for delivering meals. To Hitler, this was a sign of softness. He believed the Americans couldn't handle hardship and that if you cut their luxurious supply lines, these pampered soldiers would simply crumble. So he devised the insane plan for the Ardennes offensive: gather the last of his elite armored divisions and smash through the Allied lines. But his plan had a fatal flaw. Germany was out of gas. The core objective of this massive campaign wasn't destroy the enemy, but rather rob the enemy's gas stations. It sounds like a joke, but it was a bloody reality. The star of this absurd drama was the sharpest spear in the German arsenal, Kampfgruppe Peiper. They were equipped with the most powerful tanks on Earth at the time, the King Tigers. Unstoppable firepower, impenetrable armor. Their only weakness? They guzzled fuel like it was water. Before setting out, their tanks were only half full. The orders from high command were brutally simple: push through. The Americans have plenty of fuel. Seize it and use it. And so, one of the strangest scenes in World War II history unfolded. One of the world's top armored units fighting a desperate battle while simultaneously scavenging for gas stations like a pack of starving wolves. Initially, they did catch the Americans completely by surprise. But once the U.S. forces recovered from the initial shock, they did something that drove the Germans to despair. As Peiper-Rest tanks broke through the lines and were on the verge of capturing a massive American fuel depot, they weren't met by surrendering soldiers. They were met by a towering inferno. Before retreating, American engineers chose to set hundreds of thousands of gallons of precious gasoline ablaze rather than leave a single drop for the Germans. Just picture that scene: German tank crews watching a sea of fire consume their only hope of advancing. That psychological blow was worse than any artillery shell. In the end, these seemingly invincible King Tiger tanks, neither penetrated by enemy fire nor broken down by mechanical failure, had to be abandoned on the side of the road, simply because they ran out of fuel. Peiper, the Nazis' ace commander, finally had to order his men to destroy their own expensive war machines, then lead the survivors back to Germany on foot like beggars. The world's most powerful tank force was ultimately defeated by an empty gas tank. This battle was a brutal slap in the face to Hitler's philosophy of victory through willpower. The American pampered style of warfare was in fact a reflection of their overwhelming industrial might. The famous Red Ball Express was a logistics operation where the U.S. Army used 6,000 trucks, driving day and night across European highways, literally drowning the German tactical genius in a flood of supplies. This teaches us a profound lesson. Amateurs talk tactics, but professionals talk logistics. Hitler lost because he failed to understand that in modern warfare, fuel consumption is more critical than morale. A tank without fuel is, at best, a very expensive iron roadblock. Those pampered soldiers, he mocked, used an endless supply of gasoline and materiel to bury his so-called master race. So the next time you see a cool tank battle in a movie, remember that victory often isn't decided by the size of the cannon, but by whether that humble fuel truck in the rear can keep up. If you're interested in this kind of strategic chess game, or want to know about other epic blunders in World War II, please subscribe to my channel. Next time, we'll break down one of the most incredible spy deception operations of the war. Thanks for watching.